Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili Nishmasim Imerosu Rispas Mordechai. Got a picture here from London. MDY. Now, I don't know. I was just thinking they're not here today, so maybe that's the pshat. Nachman Kamiansky. We have two guests here. What's your name, Nachamal? Eli Garfinkel from Lakewood. Wow, Lakewood is like day after day. Wow. And you are? You're official from Teaneck. Who else do we have here? Oh, we have that tzaddik in the back. What's your name again? Eli, hold on. Grossberg from the island of Cavi Island. Now it's also. Oh, he tells me that there's 6 guys doing the daf over there, even though it's more of a satmar chever, right? It's also for them to know that he's here even and doing the daf, but not to worry. So maybe we should do like a little competition between bells. Last time I said something about bells, I said the bells don't want. Then they all started writing in. Now, if you're satmar and you watch, write in. We got a guy from Monroe. We got a guy from Williamsburg. Okay, Givaldic stuff. So Nachal, who made a bar mitzvah? You? That's why you're here in R Yisroel? Oh, the Hagan's Mishpacha. Wow, beautiful. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Also, Rabbi Leader is making a chasana, no? Einikol, mazel tov to Rabbi Leader. It's a beautiful email here. One of my favorite. I had to call the guy up and ask him Rishus to talk, to say, because he wrote Mefurish, do not say this barabim. So I got Rishus and I got a follow-up email and I chopped up a lot of it. I took out a lot of it, but here's I think it's very sincere. I'm 26 years old, married. I don't know where to begin. To say that you've changed my life is an understatement and a line that you've heard countless times. When in reality, you have saved my life. Not only in this world, but in the next. I grew up modern Orthodox and struggled with what I would call the American temptation. There have been a few times in my life where I felt closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for example, after yeshiva in Israel. However, those moments of inspiration always faded and I was back in my old ways, not serving the King of Kings the way I should have been. Alafiyar. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that's a giveaway to the people I know. Was my first share with you, and I have not missed a day. Edit. But more importantly, you have connected me to our Father in a way I've never been able to attain or sustain until now. I now learn Shnai Mikra, Chovis Halvav, Sefer Chavetz Chaim, Nach Yomi, and I still can't get enough Torah in my life. My wife is my number one supporter, always tell me how proud she is of me. Our relationship in Hashkafa has certainly improved over the past year. P.S. I could write pages and pages on how my life is different now that you are my Rav. I view my life as whatever his name is before Aleph Iyar and whatever his name is after starting the daf. Besides, then he wrote me another email. Besides for you making learning enjoyable, another way your shir has changed my life is by being normal. I know it sounds strange. I'm almost 50 years old. I think this is the first time ever somebody's called me normal. I know it sounds strange, but it does sound strange. But seeing you have such enthusiasm for learning despite not having a long beard and a yeshivish accent makes me feel like Torah is not only accessible to someone like me, but meant for someone like me. Meant to help someone like me grow, learn, and get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Words cannot articulate what you've meant to me. Thank you for continuing to bring our brothers closer to our Father. Thank you. All right, beautiful. The Koilo. This month is sponsored Lzchus Shiduchim. Parnasah chodesh number 1. Eli Nishmas Zechus Shimon HaKohen Wowlerstein Zechus bracha. By his kids. Parnasah chodesh 2. Ahron Fraiman Lzchus continue parnasah siyadta dishmaya Torah. 3. Parnasah chodesh the Boyer family. Eli Nishmas Zechus Eli Weinberg. Parnasah chodesh 4. The Wolkenstein family. Kemach and Torah and Kemach. By the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood NJ, because Torah is the best. Remember that. Parnasah chodesh 6. Anonymously, Eli Nishmas Chayo Bas Yosef. Anonymously, 7. As HaKaras HaTov to Hashem as Zechus for continued health and bracha. Today's shir sponsor, Eli Nishmas, my paternal grandfather, Reb Dov ben R Yisroel, Reb Dov Farkovits. May today's learning be a source of comfort for the family. Cyril Avram Meir, Yisrael Dov and Zelig Farkovits. If you're wondering how come he's allowed so many words when other people aren't, I think the pshat is that he put these in 2-3 years ago. He paid for it how long ago? How many? A year or two ago. So he's locked in with the wording and everything else. You better lock in now because the prices are going up and the words are getting shorter. Number 2, Nachum Shore, Daddy Mommy's anniversary. Thanks for recruiting me to MDY. Number 3, in honor of our son Zalmi, Gala, putting on his film today, and in honor of Hot Sauce for being mechazik the rabbin. No shaykhs to you guys, huh? Okay, Yankin Helper and family. P.S. Hoping to make it to the live share this week, so we'll understand what the hot sauce is all about. And meeting your belly. And finally, Philip Byrne, Lzchus Nishma, Walter Byrne, Mordechai ben Nathan Yechiel in honor of his yartzai. What? Sphira. Today's the 36th day in the Omer. Oh, we gotta put on the speakers meanwhile. I show you this. This Shlomo Klein sent me of Lubavitcher, very choshev, he says Panovich is nothing compared to the frumkeit of this yeshiva Eli Torah. And there's a guy with a sweatshirt that says it's shmak to do the daf. I almost walked out with that sweatshirt one day until I realized it says shmak to do daf, and in the bottom it says rebelli. Quite like I'm not gonna wear my own quote on my back. Here's a video. I thought this is geschmack because it also comes from a Zechus, also like a satmar kind of guy. Listen to this. It's all in Yiddish, but I think we can understand it.
I'm going to find baby on Kamoshi. It's a spiel with a tablet. I don't know. Treff my side. I thought we were going. It is good. Ja, maar is het de eerste rebellie?
That's rebellia. He went on the tablet, instead of going to Barney, he pushed the daf by mistake. Not by mistake, on purpose. Okay. So here we go. Oh, we gotta go back to this. Another parental advisory, and we'll go from here. We got all the way till today's daf Ayin Vav. We're starting 2 lines down, and we have about till the Mishnah with parental guidance advisories. Omer Rav Yehuda Mishmuel. Nikev v'nistam. Where's my prop? I need a shtickle prop. Oh, here it is. Okay. Nikav v'nistam. There was a hole in the gid, and it was sealed. A puncture. Kol she'ilu nikri. If keri comes out. V'nikra. And from the pressure of the keri, of the zera, it tears again, puzzle. Why? Because once again, we have the problem that's not yoyra kechetz. It doesn't have the force, and the Gemara is going with that svara, that if it doesn't have that force, doesn't come out forcefully, then it cannot impregnate. Vilav kosher. But if it doesn't have that problem, then it's kosher. Again, so we see this idea that if there's a mum that healed, and it doesn't have the issue behind it, the whole issue is that a problem with reproduction, if you don't have that problem, kosher. Havi ba rava. Heicha. Where exactly is this puncture? Ilay mata Torah afilu nichras nami. So, Nachamal, this is that Torah, the ridge. And this is the end. Lamata. This is lamata. So if it's from here to here, even if it's cut off completely, this whole, it's basar ba'alma, this is not part of the gid really. Ela ba Torah atzma. Notice, the Gemara says, that the wound happened in the ridge. It doesn't say on this part of the ridge. It says in the Torah itself. Why? Because if it's in the gid itself, then there's a problem of, that's not Yorik Echetz. It's going to lose pressure. Itmar nami omar av mori bar mar omar marugva omar shmuel nikeva Torah atzma v'nistam. Oh, if in the ridge itself there was a puncture and it healed, kol shilu nikri v'nikra apostle. If it's forced open again, then it's possible. He's possible. He can't get married. Vilav kosher, then it's kosher. Shalach le'Rava b'rei the Rabba le'Rav Yosef. Ilamdeinu Rabbeinu heichon heichi avdinon. Shaila. We want to take this person, see if he's kosher or not. We want to see if the zera, the force of the zera, is going to cause it to open again. So how can we medically test this without being over on zera levatala? Says the Gemara, you take hot bread, I don't know exactly how this works. The sa'are, not stam hot bread, it has to be barley bread. Umanchinale abe pukre, you put it on his rear. Umikri, and that's going to cause him to discharge the chazinale. Then you can see if it's going to cause it to tear again. Omar Abaya, why do you have to go to such lengths and do it in such a tznius way, sort of? What everybody is Kaddish is Yaakov Avinu. We're not saying that, he's not asking that you should be over and Zer Levatala. He's just saying the way you achieve that is a little bit, it's way out there. The Sivbei, we know that Ruvain was the first Zera. The Rishonim ask, how's it possible? We discussed this already. How's it possible it's the first? We just said, we learned you can't get pregnant on the first time. So they say that Leah, I think Taisva says it here, Leah knew this and she didn't want Yaakov to run. So she made sure that she didn't have Psulim by herself. And like this, she could get pregnant right away and then Yaakov wouldn't divorce her. Says the Gemara, carry me on. Yaakov Avinu was on that madriga, so for Yaakov Avinu, you could do bread and this and that. I have a different idea. Just do regular put something in front of him that causes hirurim, and like this, he'll be mighty zera. So Barzilai Agiladi, the Gemara in Shabbos says, it's interesting. That's Rava in Masechta Shabbos who says it, and Rava is asking from Barzilai Agiladi. He's saying, L'shitasi. David, when he was running away, Barzilai helped him out. So when David won and he's coming back, he said, Barzilai, come with me, live next to me in Yerushalayim. So he says, listen, I'm 80 years old, I can't eat, I don't have any taivas, I don't have this, I can't taste anything. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Rebbe's Shifcha, she was 92 years old and she used to make the soup, she used to taste everything. So you see 92-year-olds have time. So Rava answers, no, it's Barzilai because of he's full of taiva, he accelerated his aging. So he's 80 years old, he's like a 100-year-old. So this is Rava saying it in Masechta Shabbos. So you see somebody that has taivas, okay, fine, but Barzilai is about taivas sort of, and therefore, Rava is using him as an example. What? Somebody's going to look at a piece of clothing and it's going to cause him. Says the Gemara, Ella, you have to be a little bit more forceful with it. Use the heat, use whatever you can, and like that. But it's better not to do it biyad. If there's a hole and the zera just dribbles out, so, pasul, he can't get married. You need yorik echetz, you need forceful. Nistam, but if it plugged up, it healed, kosher, because now he could have children. This is a pasul that he was one day he's pasul, he can't get married, the next day he's healed, he can get married. What does it come to exclude? So you look over here on the chart, you see lemute krum sha'ala machmas maka bereya de'ena krum. Our in-house shoichet from Weisfish from Manchester, he sent me this picture once. That's him holding it. This is a lung, and you could see on the bottom there's it looks like oozing, something oozed out of it, and he has his finger there. Yeah, you could do it with here, let me see if I could do it real quickly. Laser, let's see if that worked. Yeah, right over here. So this is scar tissue. And scar tissue, I think that's what it means. And if the scar tissue is there, it's not good enough. It's what they call a sircha. Right? When you have a chsherim and they look for sirchas. Was there a puncture wound in the lung? And that the body try to heal it with scar tissue, not good. Why? Because it's going to pop off. It's not a real heal. It's like a band-aid to a wound, and it's not good enough. So, zehu on the gid, if it heals on the gid, we're good. But on a lung, if it heals, it's not good. That's why zehu comes to exclude this case. What is the best way if a guy has a hole? How could I plug up the hole, so to speak? How could I heal it? Says Gemara, listen to this. My seed, and I looked it up on Google. It's a tactic, not that we need it today, but people have used it in the past. This Gemara. My seed in siyadta, you bring a piece of barley, one piece, a kernel, and you scratch that area up. In other words, you make him bleed. You want him to heal. And then you bring some fat, and you put it on. Why? You bring a giant ant. Check this out, check this picture. You bring something like this. This is like an ant. A leaf cutter, I was going to get one. They have it, mamish, over here. Large one, this big. You put him on the wound, and eventually he's going to bite down. And that bite is going to be stitches. Natural stitches. It hurts. Oh, you're thinking where? Oh, okay. But it's better than not getting married, right? It's a one-time thing. That hurts. What about yesterday's Gemara, where he cut it down to side, whatever. He got rid of the marzev, made it a kolmus. Hashem Yirachem. Okay. This is not too bad. I was going to actually try to demonstrate. If somebody brought me one of these ants, go outside and chop one. At night, they run around over there. Anyway, it goes in. Now, once it goes in, if you look, it has like ridges. It probably doesn't come out at all. So what you do is you chop the ant's head off. And eventually, it's going to, what's the word? Dissolve. It's going to dissolve, disintegrate.
Not the head, you chop the back part of the body. The head stays there. Because the pins.
Have you done it?
I've seen it.
You've seen it?
Yes, I have.
Judah came to life. He left us for 2 months. He learned up all of Shas. He's back in a bigger and better form. It's unbelievable. Okay, so Judah's mechulik on what it says here. Yeah, he says, no, you can learn him that l'reisha means you chop and you leave the head. Okay, listen, I'm not a doctor. Judah's a doctor. He knows these things.
Leeches to treat hemorrhoids.
Leeches treat hemorrhoids. Dr. Factor. You actually...
I see the head balls in the I saw pigeons to treat hepatitis, but I didn't see ants.
Rashi here. I didn't see that. Oh.
Rashi says paskina le'reisha.
Liyoi stuma v'chozman
The
shu.
head itself will seal the hole.
Interesting. I don't know that. That's how you learned it. Okay.
It goes like Eli.
The Rashi's talking about the meat, the thing itself. Okay, fine. Akasha v'maisa. You know what? Today we have stitches. We don't need to worry about the ants. HaKaras HaTov. If anybody needs this procedure done, you can go to Judah David. He's a mumcha in this, and he'll do it the right way. He won't cut the head in the wrong place. Okay. So you have to use a barley. Why do you have to use barley? If you try to use metal and scratch it up with metal like a knife, mizraf zarav, it's going to cause a wound. It's not good. V'hanamili katan. And two pshatim here, but katan l'chayr means a small wound, avagadol, mikfule mikfal. Some learn it means a young child and an older person, but pashut pshat, small hole, larger hole. It's like, you know, the scar tissue will fall off, and it's not going to be a good seal. Omar Rabba Baravuna, hamatil mayim mishtei mekoyim is possible. So we discussed it yesterday, that it seems like they had 2 pipes, according to the Chazon Ish, Nishtanu Atvayim. If a person goes to the bathroom, ktanim, and the ktanim come out from both of the pipes, is that a problem? In other words, it uses also the zera pipe. Is that a problem with the zera? So Rabba Baravuna, the son of Ravuna, says, yes, that's a problem. I guess he holds that the ktanim ruin it. I don't know exactly. Rabba is wrong. Not only is he wrong, his father Ravuna is also wrong. This halacha that the son Rabba just said, he's wrong. It doesn't ruin it. Just because it's using another pipe doesn't ruin it. Abba, and what's the father? Ravuna, Dama Ravuna, Noshim HaMasoyle Zubizu, Psules Liguna. 2 women that have relationships, that causes them to be a zoina, and a zoina is also for Guna. So, says Rava, he's wrong. You don't become a Zaina by that. You become a Zaina by a real act with a man, not two Nashim. So, Rebbe Lazar holds, and we learned this a number of times. Panei Abala Pnuya, two singles. Shaloi l'shem mishus. They don't want to get married. Asa Zaina. It creates a Zaina. Hanimili ish. That's an act with an ish. Avalisha, two women. Pritzusa ba'alma. It's only prust, and it doesn't cause a isser for a kohen. The official Mishnah is sponsored by the Ron Korm Lud. L'zeichen nishmas, my dad, Uri ben Matisyo, Lzchus, Ruchnish, and Gashmias for their own children. Mando's babysitters. Petzuadaka. Uchrushavcha. We have a Petzua. He's wounded. We have a Daka, crushed. We have a Krus, Shavcha, severed. Mutar b'giyoyres m'shuchreres. It says in the pasuk lo yava b'kal, they're not allowed to come into the nation. They're not allowed to marry into the nation. But a giyoyres, according to the Tanakhama, according to the Mishnah, a giyoyres m'shuchreres are not part of the kahal. So there's a loophole. We said, once mentioned, and everybody knew the story, that Reb Amram Bloy, he became a Khrushchevcha sometime in his life, and the Shaila, how it happened during Afghanah, this, that, and he ended up marrying a Giyaris. So somebody just contacted me, I know him very well, guy from Dallas, and he says, I have his ksuba. He bought it, he acquired the ksuba somehow. The ksuba, and it says in it, Amram Bloy and Rus. Yoris. Muta b'Yoris. Mushuchreres. Ve'enan asurun ela milavi b'kal. Because it's only also for them to marry into the call. Shenemar le'yavi b'tzudaka krushavcha b'kahal Hashem. Bo m'nei Rav Sheshes. Unbelievable shiloh. B'tzudaka kohen ma'u b'Yoris mushuchreres. If the kohen himself is a b'tzudaka, does that lower his level of kuhuna, of Gedusha, because he happens to be a B'tzudaka, and therefore he should be mutter in a Giyaris, or no, he's a full-fledged Kohen who happens to have a mum, and he cannot marry a Giyaris. What's the problem with the Giyaris? Says Rashi on the spot. Giyaris is a Zaina. Why? We have to assume that when she wasn't Jewish, she had relationships with non-Jews. That renders her a Zaina, and a Zaina is also on a Kohen. What's the shayla? Big dushas kohen v'aser. Perhaps he remains a kohen, and it's also for him. Or maybe no. Maybe he loses part of the kedusha. And the Gemara remains with this raya. It's a good raya. It says, "Petzua daki Yisrael mutar b'nesina." What's an asina? An asina is a woman from Givain. What's Givain? One of the 7 amim that we're not allowed to marry. The Nesinim, they're called Nesinim because they tricked Klal Yisrael and they pretended that they were from some faraway place. Meanwhile, they came from next door. They made Yeshua swear that they're not going to kill. So to keep the Shvuah, they kept them alive, but they put them outside of the call. So a Petzua Daka Yisrael, you have a Yisrael who is wounded. He's a mutar ben Asina. Shivas Amim. He's mutar in the Shivas Amim. And if you're going to tell me that the Kohen remains Kadosh, so then the Yisrael also, he remains a regular Yisrael. What right does a regular man have to marry an Asina? Why is he any different than every Yisrael? Elamai. He's wounded. He's not in the same category as everybody else. And Memela, the same thing would apply to a Kohen. He's not in the same category, so he could also marry a Giyaris. We bring a raya from Nesina to Giyaris, and the Gemara remains with this raya. Says Gemara, Amar Rava. So Rava is going to ask a question back, but at the end of the day, Rava takes it back, and he admits that this is a good raya. Amar Rava. Is it because the Yisrael is Kaddish and not Kaddish? So, as the pasuk says, we had it right in this Masechta. We spoke about these psukim. Ki Yasir, gotta get that. What's the reason why You should the Torah talks about one part of it. I'm worried about the grandchildren. What are these goyim that you're marrying? What are they going to do? They're going to bring avodah zarah into your grandchildren's life. Says the Gemara, Dilma ben we're concerned about bincha. You see, it's underlined. Bincha. What is your son going to do? But when they become gerim, there's no concern any longer that they're going to bring your grandchild to avodas gechavam. They're gerim. They want to be Jewish. So meila sharu. So therefore, a giyaris is okay. But Rabbanon, David HaMelech, made a gzeira on these nesinim because of what they did. It's a different thing. Says Rava, let me explain to you. Chachamim made a gzeira on nesinim. Typically, there shouldn't be a problem because they're already gerim. They're not gonna. The whole thing of the Torah, ki yosses bin chamecharai, doesn't apply to somebody that became a giyaris. But Rabbanon made a gzeira on nesinim. But they only made a gzeira on nesinim to somebody that's roi, but not somebody that's pasul. What's the svara? Why would they change it? Like we say by all gzeiras, something milsa l'shchicha legazer Rabbanon. Since it's not shchiach to have somebody that is a krushafcha, these mumim, so the whole gzeira didn't apply to them. Okay. Says the Gemara. But, so what comes out of this? That's by Yisroel. Don't bring me a raya from Yisroel who's permitted to marry a nesina when he's a krushafcha, because in that case, Chachamim didn't make a gzeira. That has nothing to do with a kahén. A kahén and a giyaris, you have a zayna and a kahén. It doesn't work. Don't bring me a raya from a Yisroel and a nesina. So, according to you, a mamzer should be usher in a nesina because he could have children. He have kiyas bin chamachar. But that's not true. But now a mamzer is permitted to marry a nesina. Ella kigaz rabbanon b'chsherim. B'psulim legaz rabbanon. So they made a takana on ksherim and not on psulim because of mostly shchiach legaz rabbanon. And memela, you cannot prove from here about the kedusha of a kahén. But at the end of the day, says Rav, I take it back. It's not true that after they become gerim, the mutter. I'll prove to you that I'm wrong, says Rav. Because when they're goyim, there's no such word as chasnos. They can't get married halachically. Nisgairu is luchatnos. Okay? So memela what? So it comes out that a kohen would be mutter. Now it comes out that a kohen would be mutter in a giyaris. Moser of Yosef, Vayischaten Shloima is Bas Pari Melch Mitzrayim. What are you telling me? That a guy and a Jew, the word chatnos doesn't make sense, doesn't fit. Look, I have a case of Shloima HaMelech marrying a Goya, the daughter of Paroi, and it uses the Lashon Vayischaten. So what are you going to tell me? She was Jewish. Why is she Jewish? She became a giyaris. The Gemara has a kash on that. That's why the Gemara assumes that she's not Jewish. So Nachama, he marries the daughter of Paroi, and the Torah uses Vayischaten. So the Gemara says, Giyur Gaira. She's a giyaris. No, she can't be a giyaris. You know why? They stopped taking gerim in those days because the Jews were very affluent, and they were concerned that the goyim become gerim just to marry in, to get all that money. Says Gemara, yeah, great. But it doesn't apply to the daughter of Paroi because she's self-sufficient. She's the princess. She has plenty of money. She's not going to marry a Jew to make a few bucks. Her father is Paroi. And she doesn't need that money. I'm sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of the Gold Star Multi Donut. Sponsored anonymously in honor of myself. I hope he changes the law. What happened was Yosef doesn't know who to contact. So wherever you are, you shkoyach for the anonymous thing, but maybe you could send in something that I won't be embarrassed to read. It was embarrassing enough to read that email this morning. I have to read this too. Zoktima. Yeah. Says the Gemara, listen to this. According to Rashi, there's different Rishonim, we'll learn different pratim here, but we go with Rashi always. She's a first generation Mitzri. And a first generation Mitzri, you're not allowed to marry. So if you can't marry, and the Navi uses a lashon of chasnus, so it would seem that you could use the word chasnus even if you're not married. You couldn't even marry her. First generation. So I'll tell you, no. You are allowed to marry a Mitzri. You know why? There are no Mitzrim left. You go to Egypt, you grab somebody from Egypt. It's not a Mitzri from the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why? Because all the Mitzrim drowned in the Yarden, and the Yam Suf, and the ones that were left in Mitzrayim, they also died. The Vilna Gaon says they died other ways. There's nobody left, perhaps. So Mamela, you're talking about somebody you could marry. You're asking me, how did Shlomo HaMelech marry her? And it's called Chasas. He married her. And she's not a true Mitzri that the Torah is saying that you can't marry. Interesting. Then why did the Torah, I'm just thinking about it now. If it's true that there's no Mitzri, so then why does the Torah say you can't marry a Mitzri? Huh? Anybody have a good teretz? Huh? Again, the Gemara says there's no Mitzrim left. No Ninveh, no nothing. There's no Mitzri, not a single Mitzri left. So according to this Gemara, why does the Torah say don't marry a Mitzri? Okay, it must be a dumb question, and there's a... Huh?
It's like Ben Sarah sometimes it's a lesson, even though...
No, Ben Sarah could happen. But if it can never happen, because that whole nation is wiped out, why would I tell you something that cannot even be? You don't give me a lesson on... I get it. Where? They all died in the Yam Suf.
No, the entire nation.
They disappeared. Oh, maybe pregnant women. Just give me an answer. What?
Where they came from outside, and it could be that Bas Paro wasn't a true Mitzri because he was a new dynasty where the people came from outside.
Again, according to the Vilna Gaon, that all the Mitzrayim died, all the men died in Mitzrayim, and the Gemara says, and the men died in the Yam Suf. How do you have? Forget about Bas Paro, Bas Paro. How do you have any? They moved away. Then that's it.
Isn't this just the Halamin in the Gemara? Where it says v'chitema this, that's definitely not true.
Okay, but in the Havamina, why did the Torah say that you're not allowed to marry Mitzri? In the Havamina, why is there a pasuk like that? Fine. Anyways, weiter. What I remember Yehuda? Binyamin ger Mitzri hoya. Says Gemara, but it can't be because Binyamin says I was a Mitzri. So you see that there's such a thing as a Mitzri, and he's in the time of the Tanaim. Ger Mitzri hoya li chaver min talmidei Reb Akiva. Omar ani Mitzri Rishon v'nosasim Mitzri Rishona. I married a first generation Mitzris, Asi Livni Mitzri Shnia, and my son, who's a second generation, I'll marry him off to a second generation Mitzris. What happens if a second generation Mitzri marries a first generation Mitzris? They have the hatzlacha, Rashi says, like the first generation. So the kid becomes the second generation. In other words, you have to have two second generations in order to make a third generation. Asi Livni Mitzris Shnia Kadesh Yebni Ben Beni Roy Levikal. So you see that there's still mitzvah around. Ara Papa and Am Shlomo Lakewood NJ. What? We're going to bring rice from Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo LeNasiv Midi. He didn't want to marry. He only wanted, says Rashi, Lzchus. He didn't want to marry them. I saw an explanation that if you marry, you're over on Mitzri. But if it's only Hashem's Nus, you're not over on Mitzri. You're not over the Raisa. So I once heard, and I really need to look into this a little bit more, but I'll just throw it out there. From Rabbi Yaakov's, the one that lives here. He spoke about, there's a concept called an Avera Lishma. That is somebody, the Gedolei Hadar did certain times in order to kill, I forgot who it was, what's her name? Yal, but I don't know if it was Yal. She was with him 6 times. Even though 6, 7 times, even though she was Eish Ish, because it was an Avera L'Shma, because you're not allowed to be over an Eish Ish even to save Klal Yisrael. But if it's an Avera L'Shma, you have complete intent. Who? Well, that's Karka Olam, that's something else. Fine. But different Gedolim did Avera L'Shma. If you have full intent, L'Shem Shemayim, and zero Hana, zero, you have to take all Taiva Hana out of it, then it's Avera L'Shma, it's okay. Shlomo HaMelech was trying to be Misak in the world, Misak in different nations, the Mitzrayim did this, so he wanted to accomplish this. But he was Nichshal because he had a smither of Taiva in there, and that's why it's very dangerous. It's a very, very dangerous thing to do on Avera L'Shma, because you could trip up on the slightest of the slight. Akapanim says Rav Papa, we can't learn from Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo Lei Nosef Midi, T'chsiv Bei Min HaGoyim Asher Omar Hashem Al Bnei Yisrael Lo Yisavoyu Behem Behem Lo Yavoyu Bochem. Can't marry them. Ochin Yatas Levavchem. They're gonna steer your heart. Achar Elohim to their gods. Behem Dovak Shlomo Lahava. Shlomo HaMelech, he attached himself to them and he loved them. So Elo Kasha v'Yischaten. So if Shlomo HaMelech didn't marry her, so then why does it say the word Chitun? Says the Gemara, Ahava Yisera, he had a lot of love for her. Shahevos, Malal, because of Kilun Schatim, but it's as if he married her. Omali Rabbeinu Rabashi. Vanat na Petzua Daku Hushavcha Mutar B'Gyaris M'Shuchreres. Haben Asina Asiri. I can make a deal. You're telling me that a Petzua Daku could marry an Asina over. Make a deal. A Petzua Daku could only marry a Gyaris, L'chayra. It's not in the list. It should say Nasina also. It doesn't say Nasina. Obviously, Nasina is Asura. You want to start making diukim? I'll have another diuk from your exact place. Once you start making diukim from the same Mishnah, I could flip it. From the Reisha, I learned that a Nasina is Asur. I could be Medayik that she's Asur. And from the Seif, I'll be Medayik that she's Mutter. So they wipe each other out. The two diukim wipe each other out. You cannot learn from this anything. The official Mishnah, sponsored by their own corn blue. My dad, Uri Bematisyo, and Zechus for Ruchnius and Gashmis for his children. Says the Mishnah. You're not allowed to marry an Amoni Mayavi, as it says Mufurish in the Torah. Visurin Sa'ilam. It doesn't get better. It's also forever. Aval Nekevosayim, the females, Mutaris Miyad, you're allowed to marry them right away. What's the drasha? Amoini v'loy amoinis. Moyavi v'loy meyavis. And the Gemara is going to say, where do we learn it? Who said that there's such a drasha? Mitzri v'adoimi inu masur melad shloisha doiros. How do we know that a mitzri and adoimi are also only for 3 generations? Mefurish pasuk. Echad zcharim v'echad nekevos. Male and females. Reb Shimon matters on a kevis miyad. Reb Shimon says no. On a keva, a woman is mutter to become a giyurs and she's allowed to marry right away. Reb Shimon kavachomer advarim. I bring you a kavachomer. Umayim b'malkim shos says chorim misoyel midas on a kevis miyad. Amayim miyavi. We say that a woman is mutter right away, but the men are also forever and ever. Malkim shalei osar. Es as chorim elad shleisha doyers. But when the men are only also for 3 dairas, certainly in adin should not on a kevis miyad. Certainly the women should become mutter right away. Amrulai. So they tell Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Im halacha anikabel. Did you receive this from tradition? How do you know this? If it's a tradition, we accept. Vim ladin. But if it's just you learned it from your own kavachomer, yes, tshuva. We don't agree with your kavachomer. Amar lahem. So he told them, loiki. Halacha. First of all, halacha ani oimer. Loiki means you do not have a pircha to my kavachomer. I know what you're thinking, and the Gemara is going to discuss it. Whatever you think it is, I'm going to get rid of your pircha, and I have a solid kavachomer. But you should just know, as a side note, yes, I received it in tradition. So either way, you have to accept what I'm saying. Minan emili. How do we know an amoini and not an amoinis? And it's a good thing that we have this halacha of Amoni and not Amonis. Why? Because David HaMelech. Omar B'yochin Omar Kro Uchroishol is David Yoitzel Kras Haplishti. This is very interesting. I was just telling Yossi Klan that we live in Bet Shemesh, mamish, a minute away from Emek HaHallel, right over here. This is where they say that it's over here. That's where David and Goliath had the big battle. Mamish, you should go take a look at it. So the whole story of David and Goliath was making fun of Klal Yisrael. They said, you're a bunch of wimps. Nobody wants to fight me. David HaMelech was really upset, and he said, okay, he's going to fight him. So it says over there, Shaul sees David coming out. Omer Avner Saratzava, he says, Ben Mizah Nar Avner. Who's this Nar? Who's this kid? This youngster? Vayoyim Avner, and Avner says, Chai Nafshecha, HaMelech Midati, I swear I don't even know who he is. Says Gemara V'Loyodalei. What do you mean? How did Shaul not recognize David HaMelech? Voksiv, Vayoveu Moed. He loved him a lot. Vayolei Noisi Kalim. And David was Shaul HaMelech's weapon carrier. He used to carry them 16 and everything. How does he not ready? He's asking, who's this guy? What is this guy? He brought him back to life. He played the harp for him. He carried his weapons. Who's this guy? Ella. So obviously that's not, you don't learn a Pashup Pshat. Ella Avokamashal. Now I need to know, does he have Zchus? Who's his father? Says Gemara V'aviv Lo Yodalei. Again, that also is not a good Pshat. Shaul doesn't know who David HaMelech's father is. Voksiv. Vayish b'mei Shaul zokim baba anoshim. V'omarav yisem Rabbi Abba ze Yishai Avi David. Who's Yishai Avi David? Every time we mention, we should say there's 4 people that only died B'it Yoshel Nachash. They shouldn't have died B'chlal, Binyamin, and Amram Moshe Rabbeinu's father, David HaMelech's father. What? And David HaMelech's son. In other words, you see the Zchus Avos. And David HaMelech's son, Kilov. So, Yishai, Goladar, shouldn't have died. Doesn't have a sin to his name. It says, when he was in charge of 600,000 men. So anytime he walked, you know those Roshivas, they come out of the yeshiva at the shir, and there's like 40 guys around. He had thousands. So you're telling me Shaul doesn't know who he is? Goladar. Says Gemara Shaul. No, I need to know. Of course, I know this David. I know his father's Yishai. But where's he coming from? Ime Peretz Asi. Ime Zerach Asi. I need to know that is he from Peretz, Yehuda, but Peretz or Yehuda Zerach? Ime Peretz Asi Malkav. Now he's getting a little worried. He sees the power in this youngster, and now I need to know: is he going to take over? Am I out of here? Is he coming from Peretz? Shamel Peretz Lasis Derech V'Mimachem B'Yodai. A king breaks through, goes through anybody's yard, the house, whatever. Or maybe he's Zerach Hashiv B'Almi. He's going to be a chashiv person, but he's not going to be a king. So what happened exactly that Shaul saw something special? Because it says, when Shaul saw that David wants to fight Goliath, he says, okay, let me give you some armor. And Shaul is a very, very tall man. Vayalba Shaul is David Madov. He gave him his armor, Kimidasai, and it fit him perfectly. So he saw there's an ace here. How's David? L'chayr is kind of short, no? And Shaul is very tall. How did it fit? He's from his shoulders above everybody. In other words, he's way taller. I just saw this whole long arichas in a sefer that if you're looking for shidduchim, is it important to look for tall guys? Or stam sorry, I'm looking at this there. No, he says tall people are very. It's not a Gashmis thing. It's a ruchni. It's like Baruch Hu loves tall people. He goes through all the gemaras that say about tall air. One of these there's a certain special thing about taller people. Not that I'm taller, I have to let this out. Every time a guest comes here, they say 2 things. We didn't realize that the Beis Medrash is a lot smaller than it really is. And we didn't realize that you're a lot taller than you are. So I'm 6'2", I'm putting it out there. I'm not trying to toot my horn or anything. But so Doga Adomi says, listen, why are you asking if he's right to be a king We're still trying to get to Hamayni v'lo Hamaynis. How do we know this idea? Doeg tried to say, he's a Talmud Chacham, they used to ask him all the thing, trying to say that he's not kosher, David HaMelech. Moyavi v'lo Moyavis. So Doeg, sorry. Omali Avner, where am I? I just skipped. My time at the Kosim Jerusalem Mavia. He's comes from a Giyaris, from Moyav. Omale Avner Tanina, Amayni v'lo Amaynis, Moyavi v'lo Moyavis. It doesn't apply to Rus. She's allowed to become a Giyaris. Says Elameato, so Doeg asks him back, Mamzer v'lo Mamzeres. You're gonna prove from the Lashon of the Torah that it's in male and not female? So Mamzer also says Mamzer. So maybe you're allowed to marry Mamzeres? Says no. So Avner answers him, Mamzer Ksiv. The word Mamzer, it means Mum Zar. It's a defect, and you're a stranger, so it doesn't matter if you're male or female. Oh, so he asked him, what about Mitzri v'lo Mitzri? So according to you, Moyavi v'lo Moyavi, so Mitzri v'lo Mitzri, so you're allowed to marry Mitzris. Shanacha the first time of the Qur'an. I'll tell you why, because over here, by Amayni Moyavi, there's a pshat in the pasuk. Al shaloi kidmu eschem belechem u'mayim. They didn't come out there and greet you, they should have fed you. Darga shalish l'kadem, v'lo darga shalish l'kadem. So I'm going to go into the pshat of the Torah. The Torah says, why are they so bad you can't marry them forever? Because they didn't come and give you bread. But a woman doesn't have to come give you bread. It's not tznius. But at the end of the day, the women should have gone out and be tzniistic and give bread to the women. Ishtik, he didn't know what to say. So he's back to the thing that it's also to marry a moyavis. Miyad, says the Gemara right away, go ask who this Elam is. Says the Gemara, if you look at the pasuk over here, it says, first in pasuk Nun Hey, it says, Ben Mizeh Hanar. Who's this nar? And then pasuk Nun it says, Shal Ben Mizeh Ha'elam. So what's the difference in the wording? Says the Gemara, nar, Elam. Halach and Elam is a lashon of, it's hidden. You don't know the halacha. Amoini, not amoini. Moyavis, not a moyav. Tzeu shal b'beis hamedrash. Go ask in beis hamedrash. Shal amrulei. So they asked him. He asked them beis hamedrash, and they told him, amoini v'lo amoinis moyav v'lo moyavis. Rus is kosher. So actually, Doeg kalani kushiyasa. And then so Doeg asked all the questions in beis hamedrash what he just asked Avner. Ishtiku, and he put them in their place. So he thought he's right that Rus is psula and David is pasul. Miyad va'amosa ben ishu shmo Yisraeli yeshba el Avigail bas Nachash, the daughter of Nachash. Again, this is referring to Yishai. He died because of the Nachash. Uchsiv Yesra Yishmaeli, the father of Amasa Yesra Yishmaeli. Omar Rav Melamed. Why is he called Yesra Yishmaeli? Shechagah Chariboy Ki Shmuel. V'amar, he went against Doeg. V'amar, Kol Mishin Shemei Halacha Zu. If you Doeg are not going to listen to this halacha that Rus is kosher, Yidaker B'acherev, I'm going to kill you with a sword. Kachem Mekublani Veis Dina Shel Shmuel Aramasi. We got this from a tradition from Shmuel. We're not making this up now. Amoyni v'loy amoynis, moyavi v'loy moyavis. End the story. This is how it is. Rus is kshera, David is kosher. Have a wonderful day. Welcome to all the guests. Shalom Aleichem and welcome.